So first of all, guys, we have some level of news out today, which is taking the markets down. If we look at the overall location of the markets too, even though we had this nice update, so we did have a little bit of I would consider yesterday a relief bounce. It felt like a strong one. Don't get me wrong. It felt like a strong one, but in the overall location of where the indexes are, I mean, this is just right. A breakdown, dead cat bounce into resistance. I thought maybe we might get to the 50-day moving average, to kind of relieve some of this pressure, because it's frankly just getting a little bit, it's getting a little bit long in the tooth on the short side. Like there's just not that much meat on the bones as the ATRs have been compressing a lot. But, now we've got some news out today. So we gave back all yesterday's gains. We'll kind of have to see how we react around here. But the overall picture over here is this is just a gosh darn bear flag. And so we'll have to, probably be short sitting for a period of time today. I wouldn't probably chase this thing off into the hole just in case this is a fugazi. Sometimes these jobs reports, CPI kind of things, they reverse back at the open. Let's take a look. I don't believe this is just like if this was a stock, right? You'd be like, fuck, this stock sucks. This stock is fucked. So, you're basically just kind of in a little bit of a channel here. And so we'll see how this kind of breaks down. And if it starts to coalesce into something that's a little bit more nasty, then we'll have to get more aggressive today. Let's take a look at the gappers. There were some interesting names. There were a lot of good looking charts after yesterday's bounce in the market. But we're already giving back a good chunk of those gains. So let's take a look and see if there's anything juicy out here. Look, this ALBO is probably, hold on. Hold on, let me change this up a little bit. Hold on. There we go. There are a whole host of these little biotech stocks that are still going. Quite a few of them actually been holding up. That has been like if you're playing any kind of small cap scappers, any of this kind of stuff, it's been the it's been the biotechs that have actually held up the best and have been the one that are doing follow through. So if you do play, any kind of small caps or anything like that, probably these biotechs are the ones that, that are actually kind of like ripping around. I don't know if today's a good day to do this. This market, if it starts to break down that channel, may get fugazi, to the downside. So this is, this is a higher risk type of trade. SOC 6. So look, MU had earnings out, so you might see a little breakout in this SOC 6. This is the 3X bear ETF for shorting semiconductors. I'd rather just do the actual company, but let's keep an eye on those. You do have prices to increase prices, basics and Yeah, I'm not sure this will. So this does about $1 worth of range every day, and it's already getting there. This may be. Let's see if this holds. We maybe some steel stocks, like some action in some of these steel names. They were pretty good the last few days. Not this one, but I'd keep the CLF on watch. That actually, it may have used up a lot of its range, but there's a certain level of ATR that can expand if the news is received well. You can see here, this is SQQ, this is 3X ETF. Go to. I've been staring at this goddamn thing for. Right, and what's up? Where were you in class yesterday? Look, this thing is now, you're getting a little bit long in the tooth. You got to gap up. The candle's completely outside. This is actually probably the day to try to take this thing down. If the market's going to get fucking fugazi, then that could be that could be something. It's easy to borrow for the most part too. What do you think? This might be it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's add this bad boy. We'll see what's up. Billy, man. Billy's Chinese stocks are actually holding up. EDU. Tals also looks like a potential short here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. You got about $1.50 to the 90 EMA. I'd add this and go to. I think go to because it's actually up on the day. Probably a little bit easier. Probably the day to do them. I can't believe all these China's gapped up. God damn, you're fucking monk man, aren't you, Abe? All right, if we need bounces, guys, if we need bounces, we go with IQ. You've got yourself, man, this is probably the best chart in the market for the most part. You go with IQ, TME, Billy. If we need bounces, if the market starts to bounce, we want to hit these Chinese names. They're actually holding up okay. And they had all the heat yesterday, you know, especially like it's hard to see with these gaps, but let me go back here to regular hours data, right? So you got this fucking monster trender. Then you got, right? See this thing, big monster, big monsters on these bad boys. We want to keep an eye on these. I think these will be the top ones. You can add TME too. And then Momo. So I would go IQ, Momo as like the two best. TME is a little bit more of a grinder. IQ, Momo, those are the two best. If we need longs, you could probably throw XPEV in it too because it had pretty good range. I mean, first of all, it had $1.50 range on it yesterday for $10 stock. Like that's really good. That's about a 10% ATR. You don't see that too often, right? Like, you know, these days the prices become so compressed on most stocks. Like the ATRs are usually like 2, 3, 4%. If you get 10% ATR on a stock, like that's going to be some buenos over there. So we'll add these for potential red to greens if the market bounces. All right. If the market bounces, it looks like I got a dick fetish. This fucking got so many lines on this thing. Good Lord. If the market bounces, and look, we don't really have any catalyst here that says it's gonna. I mean, we just have a bear flag here for the most part. So we do got to be a little bit fucking careful. You can see here on the SPY, you got breakdown, stall at the 50-day moving average in the 9 EMA, right? So that's your classic breakdown pullback setup. Same thing with the IWM, right? Breakdown pullback. Hot damn. Look, Tesla's just a bleeder at this point. Even though it's oversold, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily bounce when you want to. It's due for one. There's no getting around that. But, you know, if you take down yesterday's lows, you may still get one more flush out in it. And, you know, it's still not piercing that lower Bollinger Band. You know, that's where we really need to see it like kind of tossed down. Now, in a historical manner, right, this is your weekly chart. You know, you are in a massive, like, right, topping pattern. You know, you got to always be careful. You want to look at like your longer term charts, like whenever you become a fanboy of a stock, and you can see like this thing's been making right lower highs for the whole year, like even since last year. So you are you're getting a little bit oversold, but you're not. Right, you can see here, this is where the lower Bollinger Band is. I mean, you still need one more flush out, I think. You are at a 2-3 stochastics, which is you are at a 3 stochastics. But look, this is how oversold in a shit stock can get oversold a lot longer than you think, right? So you went from extreme overbought to like you've been oversold now for you were oversold over here, and you could still keep kind of going. This bounce is coming, and when it rips, it'll probably be like 10, 15 points during the day. But it doesn't have to be like when you think it is. So we'll have to be a little bit careful of this. This is fucking tail's already busted. One sec. All right, so we'll see if this go-to falls. This tail's already kind of busting down a little bit. You can already see here, right? So if this thing starts to really fucking get shamangled, then we'll come in on this go-to like fucking men of honor. Yeah, Jason. I mean, it's a turn. We'll try to get a bounce. If it gets to 130, 131, 130, we'll try to bounce it at some point, but otherwise we don't want to do that. Now look on the short side, you've got, let's talk about the short side. You got MU out here. They actually fucking, it's the only semiconductor company I've ever seen it even has lost money. Fiscal loss, revenue drops, firing people, right? You got all sorts of fun and games over here. Let's add that. That's probably going to be, if this starts to shred down, then we also will take down, right? We could take down AMD here right against this level. And then you can see here, NVIDIA's got, right, breakdown, kind of coalescing under these MAs. You take out maybe this, I'd say about 160. This is a 15-minute chart. If you take out this trend line over here, this is about 160 and some change. That's where we come in. That's where we'll come in hot. This might be something we could take out of the gate too. If you start to see the market fucking flush down at the open, right, with no, like you get that MPC to the downside, watch for an ORB around this 160 mark. We'll come in hot on it. Amazon's right at a sweet spot too. Like this is probably something we could take down at the open too. This is a, right, if you go back into 30-minute or 60-minute charts, right, you've got yourself really in this zone of love around 84, 85 is going to be a hold up here. You can flush out this thing pretty quick too. You can see the last 2 days it bounced, right? You got really light volume. So like think like, okay, you're falling down over here. This is 150 million shares of volume. Now you have bounce states at 70. It's at 55, right? So net, there's some distribution going on in this bad boy. We want to be able to take this thing downtown to downtown Julie Brown also. Good. What are we missing? Let me look at Nicola, brother. I think this is probably, so first of all, short squeeze. Short squeeze is a misnomer for the most part. It's just like a sucker's game to get people thinking like, hey, I'm onto something. A majority of stocks that have high short interest, the reason there's high short interest is because the thing's a turn, right? And so you always want to be a little bit mindful. Like this is probably a zero, so whether, you need specific conditions usually for a short squeeze. And a lot of that has to do with the market itself. And then, you need really a rash of speculative buying that comes into, specific names and groups. like when, like when we had like all these meme stocks going or whatever it might be, there's specific like kind of speculative fervor that goes on in the markets. And that's really what you need to get a short squeeze. But in essence, short squeeze is just a term that, people use to pump to rookies to make it seem like there's something special going on, but it really doesn't mean anything. Now this we can probably add too. So this is CarMax. They're like they're like Carvana, but even worse. Yeah, so this has got upwardly rise, CarMax fiscal earnings, revenue decline. Hey, this is top of the list here, I think. It's a retail stock, so it's going to trade like shit. But I think we can add this to the list. If this ORBs, we should have some downside because you got this bear flag over here. There might be a slight spread on it. I don't know. The liquidity on this is so, but of late there has been liquidity. So I think that'll be okay. And if this starts to flush down, then, we might as well just fucking put the brakes on and just teach CVNA a lesson. Gotta stay with $4, huh? we could probably still keep shorting this too. This thing's probably a zero. Yeah, add both of those. If you need a nice daily trader, this is also pretty good to the upside of the margin, 7 on it. All right, so we got MU, we got CLF, PAL, GoTo, we got this KMX, we go NVIDIA, especially if we break this trend line. We go Amazon. If you break down into this kind of, right, you break down these levels over here. Good. And look, if the market actually does bounce, right, we don't necessarily know, then we want to fucking roll with the Billy Bong. We want to roll with the IQ Nation. We want to roll with XPAD because they got flying cars supposedly coming out, which is fucking sick. Fucking Back to the Future. You love Roblox. I'm talking about flying cars and Back to the Future, the flux capacitor, Doc Hollywood, and you want to talk about fucking Roblox? What is this? Yeah, that's a bear flag too. It looks nice. Sure, why not? That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Let's try not to fuck up today. Yesterday was hot. Today, I think it's going to be even better. Hey, in terms of somebody just asked, what do you look for in terms of liquidity? Yeah, so it's the mixture of spread and volume, right? Like, you can sometimes have stocks with no spread and they still do not that much volume, but so it's that kind of combination. How easy can you get filled? Like, for example, like NVIDIA sometimes has a little bit of a spread, right? You can get filled instantly because it does so much volume. Like sometimes some of these other stocks, well, none of them are $400, $500 anymore, but you remember like Shopify when it was at $300, $400, $500, like the spread on it would be like $2. Like it would be hard to get filled on it if you use limit orders. And if you use market orders, you'd lose the $2. So you'd like do like 200, 300, 400 shares, and then you're down like already right off the bat. Robert, where you been, brother? Good to see you. Yeah, Andrew Malay, I think so, buddy. We'll have to see how the market opens at the open, but So Nike is a nice chart. I'm just, I'm not sure there's much we could do with it right now. You may come back and fill this gap, but it did have a nice reaction on earnings. It's just in a weird spot. SLB, let me look. I'm surprised this Schlumberger's been fucking hammered, staying up like this. That's you can keep day trading this. You can't swing trade this because it's already up 4 days in a row. So you don't want to swing trade something that's up 4 days in a row, but you definitely keep an eye on this one. It's definitely got, I guess, what we call relative strength. Good. That's the list I'm sticking to. Man, I was hoping for a big gap up in this MDGL. Guys, if this thing, just keep an alert. If it gets close to the 300s, we're going to fucking take this thing down. All right, that's the list I'm sticking to. Guys, start setting up your 6 windows layouts. And Amazon, NVIDIA. Yeah, remember these Chinese names. Billy, PDD, IQ, and Momo. I think Momo and IQ are the best ones. These things are fucking hot. I would have taken Momo yesterday, but a certain somebody from Michigan hates it and convinced me not to. All right, let's fucking shred. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Try not to fuck up today, guys. Everybody makes money on Momo. Just not while it's consolidating. Hey, KP, where have you been lately? All right, let's fucking do this.